Today we will be talking about states of matter on the particle level. This means how the atoms and molecules that make matter up are arranged and how they move in the different states of matter. Many of the properties of matter can be explained by what is happening at the particle level. We often use particle diagrams to help us better understand what is happening at the molecular level. We've previously used particle diagrams to model elements, compounds, and mixtures. We can also use particle diagrams to model solids, liquids, and gases. In this video, we will use particle diagrams to model the energy of the particles in solids, liquids, and gases, as well as the forces that occur between the particles. All particles in matter have energy, and there are also attractive forces that happen between the particles in matter. Kinetic energy is what we call energy of motion, and anything moving has kinetic energy. A roller coaster rolling down a hill has kinetic energy. A runner running has kinetic energy. A car driving has kinetic energy. The particles that make up a substance have kinetic energy too. The more kinetic energy the particles have, the faster the particles move. And you can see this in this video. On the left, we have particles moving slowly. These particles have low kinetic energy. On the right-hand side, we see particles moving very fast, and these particles have a lot of kinetic energy. They are high-energy particles. Another way to say this is that the faster the particles are moving, the more kinetic energy they have. Particles of matter are also slightly attracted to each other through attractive forces. These forces are much weaker than the bonds that make up compounds, but they are strong enough to affect how the particles of matter move and are arranged. The faster the particles are moving, the weaker these attractions are. And if the particles are moving fast, they have enough energy to overcome these attractive forces. The kinetic energy of the particles in a substance and the attractions between the particles are different in each state of matter. In solids, the kinetic energy of the particles is very low, so the particles move more slowly than in other states of matter. In solids, the attractive forces keep the particles bound together tightly enough so that they can't slide past each other. Particles are usually in a structured pattern. The particles can vibrate, but they cannot move around freely. And this is one of the reasons that solids have a definite shape. And this is also why solids do not flow. The particles are just bound too tightly together. Since solids maintain their shape and the particles are fixed in place, solids have a definite volume. Solids are also not compressible because the particles are very close together and you can't squeeze them even closer together very easily. Solids are usually the densest state of matter because of how close together the particles are. In liquids, the kinetic energy of the particles is higher than it is in solids. The particles, therefore, move faster than they do in solids. Because particles are moving faster, they have enough energy to overcome some of the attractive forces. The attractive forces in liquids are weaker than they are in solids. However, the particles are still attracted to each other. The particles are able to glide over each other and move freely, but they tend to stay together and they don't spread out. This is why liquids tend to take the shape of their container. We say they do not have a definite shape. However, liquids don't fill the whole container like gases do. They stay towards the bottom. So liquids have a definite volume. Because the particles are not fixed in place and are able to move around, liquids can flow. Liquids are not compressible because the particles are already close together and you can't easily squeeze them into a smaller space. Liquids are usually less dense than solids because their particles are a little bit farther apart, but they are denser than in gases. In gases, the kinetic energy of the particles is very high, and the particles move around very fast. The kinetic energy is high enough to overcome most of the attractive forces between gas particles. The particles do not clump together like the particles in liquids and solids do. Because the attractive forces between particles are so weak, gas spreads out to fill whatever container they are in. This is why gases do not have a definite volume. This is also why gases take the shape of their containers. They do not have a definite shape because they will fill any space you put them in. Gases can flow because the particles are not bound to each other and they can move around very easily. Gases are much less dense than solids and liquids are because their particles are spread very far apart. In fact, most of what is in a gas is empty space. And this is one of the reasons that gases are so light. In summary, solids, liquids, and gases have different properties, and these can be explained by the kinetic energies of the particles in a substance and the attractions between the particles that make these states of matter up.